Hello, everybody. I hope you are having a wonderful day in music class. I know that you probably just listened to some music before this, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to think about it and maybe tell what some of the instruments were and what the genre was for each of the different pieces. So now, for the rest of class, we're going to be going step by step for a magnificent music drawing competition. And it's not really a competition, but I think sometimes when we feel like we're doing a competition, we try even harder because we want to win. But one thing that I'm going to tell you before we get started is if you would like to, you can put a star just like this, or even if you want to, a little smiley face at the top corner of your paper. And if you do this, you might have your music artwork posted somewhere in the room or maybe on the bulletin board. But I'll leave that up to you. If you don't put a star or a little smiley face, then I will just look at your notes and be amazed at how wonderful you did today. So I'm going to take you step by step. This will look about like our final artwork. And then after you're done, you can go ahead and decorate it in any way you want. Okay? So I'm going to get rid of this and pull over my brand new piece. Now remember, these 5 lines are called a staff. This is what we write music on. So we're going to get started with the big squiggly line at the front, which is called a treble clef. So your first step when you're writing a treble clef is you're going to make a kind of diagonal line starting here just above the top line, and you're going to go diagonally all the way down. You might need to move and come all the way down to just below the line. So that's going to be your start for the treble clef. Now, the second step, you're going to go from the very top, and you're going to go from here down to this second line. Okay, so we're going to make a little curve. So we're going to go just like that. So take a second to draw your little curve. Now our next curve is going to be a lot bigger. So our next curve is going to come all the way down here to the very bottom. Okay, and it's going to come out a little bit. So here's our next curve. All the way down to the bottom line. And it's a little further out. Now, I didn't mention this before, but you can use whatever colors you want while you're doing this. I would use one color for each of the different types of notes we're going to be drawing. So I'm using red for my treble clef. Now, the next one is going to come up and over and touch this line right here. So it's kind of a big loop-de-loop. So we're going to come up and we're going to go over and end it right there. All right, so now that's most of the treble clef, and doesn't matter if it's perfect. You know I'm okay with something not being perfect. All I care about is that you're trying your best in this class. So our last thing for the treble clef is we're going to make a little loop down here, just a tiny little loop, and we're going to put a little dot on the inside, just like that. So that does it for our treble clef. This is also called a G clef, so if you want to, you can write a G next to it for the G clef. Now our next one is going to be our quarter note. So we're going to draw a quarter note, and I'd like to do mine right in this first space right here. So the start of a quarter note is just a big dot. And we've got a pretty big paper, so it's going to be a pretty big dot. So I'm going to draw my dot. I'm just going to draw a circle right here. I'm going to start with a circle. And then because it's a quarter note, we've got to color this circle in. And I switched to my green marker for this note. So we're going to color it in. Make sure that it's good and coated in our green marker. And after that, what else does a quarter note need? Do notes have just like a ball? That's not how this works. No, they have a little line. So I'm going to come over here to the right side, this side of my quarter note, and I'm going to draw a line up. Not too far, but coming up about to the middle of this top space. All right, so that's going to be our quarter note. And I'll write a Q below it just so that I remember that this is a quarter note. Just like the money. Just like the money. That's a great way to remember how to draw this one. All right, so we've got our quarter note. Think about some of the other notes we have. Maybe different depending on what class you're in. So we've got a quarter note, and then the next note we usually learn is called an eighth note. So think about what an eighth note looks like. We're actually going to draw two. So think about what that looks like. It's very similar to a quarter note. I'm going to draw mine on two different lines. So I'm going to start with one down here on this bottom line. So I'm going to start in the middle of the space, and I'm going to draw a big circle. I switched to purple because I like purple. And eighth notes are all colored in, so make sure you color this one in as well. Now for my next eighth note, I'm not going to put it right next to it because that's just no fun. That's not artsy. We want to make it look as pretty as possible. So I'm actually going to jump up here to the next line up. So I'm going to start in this space and draw a circle right on this line. And is that a perfect circle? No, that's not a great circle. It's okay. Mr. Carroll is not the art teacher. If you want to draw a perfect circle, you're going to have to talk to Miss Elmore. So I'll make my circle a little bit better and then color this one in as well. Now, just like a quarter note, after you're done, we're going to draw two lines coming up from these, but they're not going to be the same height. So we're going to draw this line coming up about to this line. You can even start at the top if you want to know where it ends. And it's going to come right down there to the right side of our eighth note. And we're going to draw another one a little bit higher than that. So this one is going to come down from about here. So we've got our two lines. Now, what do we need to add to this? Think about it. What do we need to add to make these eighth notes? Because right now they look exactly like our quarter note, and these are not supposed to be quarter notes. So we're going to go ahead and add this nice big line up here to let us know that this is not a quarter note. Not a quarter note. This is an eighth note. Or actually, how many eighth notes is it? Think about it in your head. This is two eighth notes. So we have two eighth notes. We've got our treble clef over here. We've got our quarter note over here. And we've got two eighth notes. So I'm going to go ahead and put an 8 and then put my TH right next to it really small so I know this is an eighth note. Now, you do not have to label these yourself. You are welcome to, but you do not have to. This is your own little artwork with our music notes. Now, our next note is not something we've talked about much this year. Our next note is going to be called a half note. Think about what a half note might look like. It's really similar to the quarter note, but it's not exactly the same. What might a half note look like? So a half note is going to be just like a quarter note, except our half note, and I'm going to do it right on this first space again, is just going to be a nice circle, and that's it. Well, that's almost it. That's almost it. Not quite. But the one thing that's different between this and a quarter note is that it's not colored in. We're just going to leave this one nice and empty, so it's just a good circle. All right? And then last but not least, we're going to draw a line up from the top, from the right side. And mine's a little curvy, but does it matter? Nope. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this is going to be our half note. So we've got a treble clef over here. We've got our quarter note. We've got our eighth note. And this one, a half note, lasts a little bit longer. The way I like to describe this is if you eat a quarter of a pie, it's not going to take too long, but that's still a pretty big piece of the pie. If you get a tiny little eighth of the pie, just like a little tiny sliver, just like that big, you're going to eat it pretty quickly. And it's not going to be very satisfying, but pie's still pie, so I'll take it. If you eat a half of a pie, that's going to take a while. In fact, that might be too much. So this one is actually longer than our quarter note. So we've got our half note over here, and I'm going to label that with an H. So you don't have to label these, like I said, but now that you've got all of your notes drawn, you're welcome to put that star or that smiley face in the top corner of your page. If you want it posted somewhere around the room or maybe on the bulletin board outside, you're welcome to write your name on it. In fact, I'd like you to write your name on it so I know whose is whose. So I'll write Mr. Carroll down here at the bottom. And last but not least, now that you're finished, you are welcome to do whatever you want. You could draw some clouds up here at the top. You could put stars up in the sky. Not in the right corner, because if you put it in the right corner, then I'm going to think you want it posted. You're welcome to put some, I need my blue marker. You can put some waves down here at the bottom if you want to. It's music on the ocean. Do whatever you want to decorate this in any way that you can, all right? So that's what I got for you today. Hopefully this went well. If you want to, you can ask for the video to be rewinded a little bit so you can get a little bit more of a tutorial. But I cannot wait to come back and see all of your artwork. Hopefully you did a good job, and hopefully you are happy with what you made. Does it matter if it's perfect? No, of course not. All that matters is that you tried. I hope all of you have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to see you when I get back.